I want to talk about a couple of things that have been in the news this week that we haven't had a chance to really focus on. And the first one is Fani Willis. Fani has been kicked off the case with Donald Trump for, what was it, conflicting interest? No, that's not what they say. What was it, Liz? She was kicked off for, I don't know.
This is what Trump's attorney said. Because it is a conflict of interest. She was having an affair with the prosecutor that she appointed to go after Trump. Just a smidge of a conflict of interest.
Yeah, kind of a conflict of interest.
Kind of,
yes,
a little
exactly
one.
Right.
You know, just a smidge of an ethical gray zone.
I barely even noticed.
This is what Trump's attorney, Steve Sadow, said. He said, as the court rightfully noted, only the remedy of disqualification will suffice to restore public confidence.
Yep.
That's correct.
Yeah, it's absolutely correct. By the way, people of Georgia should fire her. I mean, in my opinion, she absolutely perjured herself and is just not somebody that I would want and feel comfortable. Even if I agreed with her, I wouldn't feel comfortable that she would apply justice equally to every man, including me. So that looks, you don't think they're going to bring it up and assign somebody else to the case and keep doing this, do you? That's over, right?
I don't think they can because they lost public trust. Not that should be an indicator of whether justice is served or not. That actually shows you that it was a kangaroo court because they're just monitoring public opinion. Do people think we're okay?
Correct.
Can we push it a little further? But
Exactly
I don't think that they can. I mean, especially given the fact that other cases against Trump brought by the special counsel have been dismissed and dropped because he's going to be the sitting president. I actually would like to take a moment and thank Fani Willis because as corrupt as she was the biggest gift that had been given to the Trump campaign.
All of these were.
Imagine if she had been like a buttoned up, smart, competent, ethical person. It would have been, I mean, Trump didn't have to do anything. He just had to sit back and let her do her thing.
And they all were like that. Everything, one thing I have really learned, I learned this during my alcoholic years. I'm sorry, it is so noisy here. I'm at AmFest. The doors aren't even open yet, and just it's a crazy sound everywhere. Anyway, when I was an alcoholic, the thing that I had to do was surrender. I had to surrender my will and stop trying to force my will, thinking I know better than God. Well, I'm still learning that over and over again. For instance, in 2020, I was convinced we're doomed. We're doomed, and we got to do everything we can. That part was true. What the Democrats failed to learn is what I learned in 2020. Sometimes failure isn't bad. In fact, it's usually not bad if you learn the lesson. And the lesson I learned in that failure was, oh my gosh, God is not neutral. That happened for a reason. And now he's coming back stronger, more informed, ready to fight another 4 years, where it just would have been more of the same for the last 4 years. America changed and put us in this position to actually have transformative change coming our way right now. Stop forcing your will. When you just say, you know what, I'm not smarter than God. I'm not smarter than the American people. I trust the American people. It will work out in the end. And they just won't learn that. They tried everything they could by hook or by crook to convince the American people that he was a fascistic, racist monster who should be in jail. And the more they pushed that lie, the more people on their side went, this is ridiculous. They were the biggest gift to the Republican Party, the Democrats and the strategists.
Isn't that one of the things about Trump, though, is that he actually does surrender himself? I mean, in the case of Fani Willis, quite literally, that mugshot was probably his biggest in-kind campaign donation that we've ever seen. But Trump does surrender himself and trust the American people whom he represents in a way that I've not seen any other politician do. He listens and is humble enough to change his mind.
Ronald Reagan was the closest to that, but I think Ronald Reagan said everybody has their time, And he said, I haven't changed since the 1960s, but it wasn't my time. And then all of a sudden, time catches up with you and you lock into a slot. And how much time that lasts, you don't know. That's one of the problems with the media is they might lock in and they'll get their fame and fortune, and then their time stops, but they force their will and they start compromising and selling themselves. And it doesn't get any better. Look at the mainstream media. Their time is up, but they're doing everything they can, and they've become prostitutes, complete and total whores, because they won't accept it. Ronald Reagan accepted it, but it was his time. I think the people kind of caught up to him. Donald Trump trusts two things: his gut, which I have to tell you is one of the best guts I've ever seen, and the second is the American people. He knows. He just knows. They get it. And if they don't, they will, which is powerful.
Think about his most powerful moments from this year. Think about when who didn't get that thrill of excitement seeing Donald Trump working at McDonald's? It didn't feel inauthentic the way that politicians kissing babies sometimes does.
Yeah.
It felt like him saying, no, I'm a billionaire. I don't actually work at McDonald's. I'm not pretending that I was raised in a middle-class household like Kamala pretended. But he's saying, I see you. I feel what you're going through, and I'm here to be your champion because I get it.
And you know why that was so authentic? For two reasons. He likes people.
Yeah.
Okay? He likes the American people. I think he probably likes, the average person that works at McDonald's more than he likes some of the rich fat cats that hang out in Mar-a-Lago. You know what I mean? Honestly, I really think so. He likes people. That is very unusual for a politician. He likes people. Then he's also a McDonald's eater. He loves McDonald's. And he enjoyed his time, figuring out the fry-later. I get to finally make the fries that I love so much, So it was all genuine, even though he was a billionaire working a hourly job.
Well, he's intellectually curious. He was interested in the process that went into something that he liked, which is probably why he was such a successful, or is such a successful businessman and architect and builder, because he cares about those details. Did you see that video of him? I think it was from last week, where he was so involved in the design of his set that he had them put water on the table, put the doily under the water, then take it away, and he genuinely cared about what the setup looked like.
Did not see that.
It was lovely. I watched it like 3 times.
He is such a freak about that. I did not know that. I know he was a freak on just about everything, but I know he's a television guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he gave a speech. I was in the audience. I don't even remember when this was. He gave a speech and I was in the audience, and so was Mark Burnett. And it was like part of that speech, he was just talking to me and Mark about how television works. And I was like, this is, there are other people here. Because he kept looking at me and saying, right, Glenn? I mean, that's the way. Right, Mark? That's the way. And I realized this guy doesn't just go on a television show. This is the difference between stars and genuine phenomenons. Phenoms come from somebody who comes in and doesn't want to be a star, is excited by the process, has something to say, knows their own self, and then explores. And the American people have always traditionally liked explorers, even if it's just somebody exploring this job and exploring this new thing that I've never done before, but I want to learn everything about it. That's what he has. And if you have that curiosity and the soul of an explorer in everything you do, from building a building or working the fry-later at McDonald's, you are going to be a phenom. I'm convinced of it.
Yeah, plus I think when we see a politician who's also a celebrity, and this is certainly true for me, I always want to know what they're like as a quote-unquote real person. How do you interact with your wife? What are you like with your children? Are you a present part of your grandchildren's life? How do you treat your employees? And we hear all these gossipy stories out of Washington, D.C. about Kamala Harris's staff, this huge turnover, being annoyed because she's rude to them, always glued to her phone, never present, takes 50 people to get a hold of her. And then you see the way that Donald Trump talked to, the production assistants in that video. He wasn't barking at them. He wasn't dehumanizing them. He was being respectful of their craft and taking part in it. And I think that is such a public measure of someone's character, how they talk to people who are in much lower subordinate positions.
I told my daughter when she walked off stage this week, I said, go and thank all of the stagehands when they're not busy. Thank them. They just made you look good. Thank them. Care about them. And to go back to Donald Trump, when I was at Mar-a-Lago, first time doing an interview with him there, after it was over, he said, what are you doing for dinner? And I thought he was talking to me, and it was uncomfortable because everybody else was in the room that was with me, and most of them were wearing black pants and a black T-shirt. They were dressed to be, people on the set, not to be seen. And I said, well, I think we're probably all going to go to McDonald's. And he said, no. And he looked at the room and said, you're all coming with me to have dinner. You're having dinner at Mar-a-Lago. The place was packed, absolutely packed. And you don't go to Mar-a-Lago without a jacket and a tie, These guys were in jeans and T-shirts. I thought when he said that, he was talking to me. He was talking to everybody in the room. They were just as important to him as I was. And I thought, wow, that's a real man. That's a really good guy. So, all right, let me come back here in just a second. More. We have, by the way, we're going to be talking to Chip Roy. He just got out of a meeting with Vance. I think this will be the only interview he's going to give, and he's going to give us the inside scoop of what happened this morning. I'm against what he did yesterday, but I'm for it in principle. I just think it's a matter of timing. Give Donald Trump what Donald Trump is asking for right now, until he proves us wrong.